In other words, what I think the critics of the regime in Iran are saying is that Iran needs to start thinking about reducing this confidence deficit, and is doing a very poor job trying to deliver on this front. Let me also make, since we talked about Turkey, make a quick comparison here between Iranian foreign policy in action under the ruling elite headed by President Ahmadinejad, and show you where Iran, even with these contradictions that I just outlined, still has been able to perform slightly better, I would say in recent years significantly better, when it comes to its relations with Turkey when you compare it to its relations with the Arab states. We heard from Omar just before that relations for the Turks with the Middle East has improved significantly. For Iran, it's been an amazing improvement. If you look back from the year 2000 to today, you see a major transformation in Iran's behavior towards Turkey and in terms of its interactions with Turkey. Now, some people would say that's down to AKP coming to power in 2002. There is some sort of pan-Islamist agenda going on, that the Islamist-leaning AKP and the ruling elite in Iran have some sort of ideological platform they share. But actually, I think that's just a headline. And if you look at the realities of what's bringing these two neighboring states together are tangible benefits they've been able to score or achieve as a result of their cooperation, namely the fight against Kurdish militants and energy and economic cooperation. Iran's trade with Turkey has gone from about $1 billion to over $10 billion in 10 years. And when you look at the dialogue between Iran and Turkey, the role of Islam, Sunni or Shia, doesn't really come into the picture. I mean, you might have Ahmadinejad show up in a mosque in Istanbul, but that's not really what brings these two countries together. These tangible benefits are arguably cementing relations between Iran and Turkey. And if you compare that to Iran's relations with the Arab states, particularly the ones in the pro-US column, you see Iran taking baby steps towards reaching out. For instance, you have energy and trade discussions in place at all times, but nothing substantive has come out of it as a result of years of negotiations. And I think, to my mind, the reason for that is very simple, and I want to go back to the point I made earlier. The Iranians are trying to get to these Arab states in terms of selling themselves as partners, while at the same time saying they want to rearrange the security framework in the region. And it just doesn't seem to be able to work for them, and to my mind, that's not a surprise. That's not a surprise at all. Let me sort of start rounding up and say something about Iran as a nation state. When we talk about Iran and the rise, I think it's very legitimate when you're looking at it from an Iranian perspective to say, well, if the West in general wants Iran to be weak and not be involved in any arena in the Middle East, well, that's not going to happen. That's not going to happen for Ahmadinejad. That's not going to happen for Mir Hossein al-Musavi, the Green Opposition Movement. You could have a secular nationalist regime in Tehran. Some of their desires for being able to project power will not change. I mean, the same as we've witnessed over the last 40 years, the transformation from Iran under the Shah to the Islamic Republic. Some of the basic interests remain the same, and I think that will continue to be the case. But what I think is very interesting, and perhaps the West can help this debate inside Iran through its actions, is there is this divide inside Iran. Right now, it's between the opposition and the hardline ruling elite about, what's the best way of promoting Iran's regional interests. It's so obvious when you compare the performance from 1997 to 2005 of President Mohammad Khatami, who made such a great headway in terms of building confidence across the board, particularly with the Arab states. And by the way, the golden period in relations with Turkey started on his watch, 5 years before Ahmadinejad came to power. If you compare to what Khatami was able to do, compare that to what Ahmadinejad has done since 2005. Since he came to power, we've heard a lot of revolutionary talk coming from the presidential palace in Tehran. But actually, when you look at tangible achievements on a regional level, we've seen very little, in my humble argument, except these strategic outposts in places like Lebanon or with Hamas in Gaza and so forth. You also had, on top of that, you have what they're selling to us, those who are observing Iran's performance, these relations with countries as far away as Venezuela, Bolivia, and Mozambique. What my point is, we had in Khatami somebody who was looking at national interest of Iran, was working, from my perspective, rationally trying to achieve certain tangible benefits for Iran. In the case of Ahmadinejad, we see revolutionary talk, we see abstract notions about Iran becoming a global power and so forth. And the debate in Iran is, while Mr. Hugo Chavez has visited Tehran 8 times over the last few years, not a single Arab leader from any of the large Arab states, with the exception of Bashar al-Assad, have actually been to Tehran. So if anything, we've seen a return back to the bad old days in Iran, Iranian-Arab relations. And this financial loss, when you hear about Iran building up factories in Venezuela or investing in various things, reconstruction in Lebanon, there is a debate in Iran about where the country's national resources are going. And that's a very interesting debate when you bear in mind that the country is under sanctions right now, and the sanctions are starting to have an impact. And I wonder if those realities will maybe perhaps make Iran less adventurous. Finally, let me say this. I've talked about the debate. That was the core of the talk. But as you all know, those people who are arguing against the government on these issues are having a very tough time right now politically in Iran. They're under pressure. They're not part of the bloc that shapes policy. But that doesn't mean the U.S. and her allies in the region should ignore these deep-seated Iranian desires that I think are very prevalent across the political spectrum, except, as I said, the Ahmadinejad-Khamenei bloc that controls the levers of power today. Because if we're not careful here, right now popular Iranian nationalism is working against Ahmadinejad and Khamenei. That is, at least again, as I said, that's my view, is definitely working against the regime. Whatever the U.S. does, and again, that is also true for pro-U.S. Arab allies, it has to bear in mind that policies that go against what are inherently genuine national interests of Iran, if they're done in that manner, then you will push that force of nationalism into the hands of the Ahmadinejads of this world. And that's something I think from a Western, definitely U.S. point of view, should be avoided. And with that, I am out of time. Thanks very much.